In honor of Donald Mustard announcing his retirement from Epic Games and Fortnite, today I'm going to be making a tier list video ranking all of the Fortnite storylines from every season just by what Donald Mustard created. So there's been a rumor floating around, and I feel like it's true because of how the storyline took direction, that the last storyline that is created and worked on by Donald Mustard has been Chapter 3, Season 2. So in honor of Donald Mustard and his amazing creation, the brain and the magic that I love that brought this Fortnite storyline, the island, to life, I want to rank every single storyline that was created by Donald Mustard. We're going to go through every single season. I'm going to mix them up. They are mixed up, so perfectly. Guys, we're getting into the tier list in just a second. Before we do, though, I do want to say hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's make a tier list together, and I'd love to know what you guys think down below afterwards. So, I'm going to be ranking these just specifically on the storyline. The loophole's going to have nothing to do with it. Do I want to take the live event into consideration? I guess that counts because it's the storyline, right? Just the storyline. How I feel about that story. That's all I'm going to be ranking this by. I don't care about the loophole. I don't care about how long the season was. I don't care how much did I enjoy the storyline. And we're starting off with Chapter 1, Season 5. This is a fun storyline because you had the whole thing with Drift and Bright Bomber. You had all the things coming in, rifting from the world. And most importantly, you had the debut of Kevin the Cube. Season 5 was a very fun storyline. I might reorganize this later on, but I'm going to have to start off with Season 5 and throw it right into the A tier. I'm trying to think of, where I'm going to be placing the rest of these in the tier list because, of course, I can throw all of them in SS. I love the storyline. I love everything that Donald Mustard created, but we got to think about this objectively, guys. Let's talk about Nexus. Chapter 2, Season 4, excuse me. Thor came onto the island. The comics teased it. It was great. The storyline with Galactus, Iron Man updating the bus, everybody coming onto the island. I thought it was a very, very strong storyline. I was invested all the time. Whether Galactus, we had to have that anticipation with Galactus in the sky coming down, getting closer all the time. We had to figure out a way to fight against him. Very good storyline, man. I don't even know how I'm going to rank these because, guys, I love the Fortnite storyline. I love it. I'm so invested in it. It was great. Going in the S tier. That's where I'm going to throw Chapter 2, Season 4. But let's talk Chapter 2, Season 5. So the entire storyline here was Agent Jones grabbing... First of all, he left the IO. And then he ended up grabbing all of these characters. Oh, no, he left the IO in Chapter 2, Season 6, didn't he? Yes, he did. Yeah, that was Chapter 2, Season 6. Excuse me, my apologies. So he was gathering everybody to come in and gathering all the hunters. There wasn't, too much of a storyline here. And if you want to talk about V, you had a little bit of a teaser with the Fox Clan. But even then, nothing really happened with that. I'm going to have to throw that. And definitely, guys, there's definitely not going to be any D tiers. I don't know about B tiers. So I'm going to throw this in the B tier for now. I might change that around. But now we have Chapter 2, Season 6. I'm going to mix these up a little bit just to make it a little bit more fun to talk about. Just changing them up a little bit. So Chapter 2, Season 6 was a very strong storyline. You had the Spire Assassin. You had the 0 Point. You had the introduction of the Foundation. You had the trailer with Agent Jones and the Foundation coming in. We didn't know what was going to happen with them. Agent Jones left the IO. The live event was great. The music just made it absolutely perfect. I was invested this entire time. I really enjoyed Chapter 2, Season 6's storyline. I'm going to throw it into the A tier. I just don't think... Again, I'm trying to gauge how these would all work out together because I could throw these all really high, but I'm trying to look at, objectively a little bit how much I enjoyed them at the same time. Did I like Chapter 2, Season 4 storyline more than Season 6's? Yes, I did. That's where I'm going with it. Now, Chapter 3, Season 1. A little bit of a weak storyline. The Foundation, it was mostly about the 7. It was mostly about the island flipping. The season was fantastic, but when it comes to the storyline, there wasn't necessarily enough. We had little teasers here and there, but that we didn't get, a lot of development. You know what I mean? It was the beginning of a brand new island, so the storyline was just starting to pick up a little bit. So, actually, to be honest with you guys, I think this one's going to be the first C tier. And C tier doesn't mean bad. C tier doesn't mean bad at all. It's just when you compare it to the other storylines, I think that's where I'm going to throw it. Now, Collision was a very good storyline. I enjoyed it. The build up to the mech, it was a lot like Chapter 1, Season 9. It was very fun looking forward to that and having it all nostalgic. It all had a great payoff. The live event was great. I remember Mark in the Discord community calling out the Peely driving the bus. That was absolutely insane. Every single time I think of Collision, I think of that and I was like, oh yeah, right. That'd be fun, but come on, Peely's going to save the day. I think about that every single time. But this was very fun. It was fun to look forward to the mech. It was fun to have a little bit of a callback. We had the Collider. I wish it was stretched out a little bit more. We had Dr. Sloan there in the tank. It was fun. The Fortress was there. I really liked it. They had the whole IO versus the 7 thing. The whole season was great. I enjoyed the storyline. Man. I'm going to throw Collision I'm going to throw it right behind the Spire. I think that's where I'm going to put it. Now, Calamity Season, Chapter 1, Season 6, there wasn't a lot going on here besides the live event. Other than that, it was very little stories, and I appreciate them being told through the loading screen. I don't know if you want to consider that. I guess you could consider that because the end of this season was incredibly strong. Incredibly strong. We were looking forward to the iceberg. We were speculating what could happen, and the payoff was great, but that payoff didn't come until Chapter 1, Season 7. So you got to look at it and just think, okay, you know what? Kevin the Cube the floating island was floating around, and there was a giant tornado. The cube exploded. There wasn't much more than that this season. So I'm going to have to throw this one in particular. While I was very nostalgic and a great season, when comparing it to the others, it just doesn't stack up in my opinion. I'm going to throw this into the C tier. Now, the Unvaulting, Chapter 1, Season 8, SS tier. I absolutely loved looking forward to everything here. The runes are like the vault keys that were going around the map was perfect. You had the whole earthquake thing teasing the next season. You had the unvaulting. We finally went the in-between. The volcano we waited for it to erupt. It all paid off perfectly. I know I said that all of out of order, guys, and there's so much I could dive more into each particular season. But this was a fantastic storyline. There was always, throughout the entire season, something going on, whether it's Peely being told through the loading screens, whether it's waiting for the vault. We had to figure out that there was a vault. There was a government type thing, which was the IO that we didn't know about at the time. Man, it was great. Every single thing about Chapter 1, Season 8 storyline and the season in general was perfect. There was multiple things that I was teasing to, and multiple things paid off in the live event, teasing the next season perfectly. I loved it. I loved this season so much. I love the storyline for it. That might be the best story. No, it's not. It probably isn't. Okay, moving on. We have Chapter 2, Season 3. Was there really a lot going on with this storyline? Not really. It was a very short season, and I think the biggest thing that we really had was, like, the astronauts. I feel like that's what everybody was really looking forward to. But other than that, like, we had the no sweat stuff. We had, like, the reason for the flood. We were speculating about the IO. There wasn't a lot Fortnite did here, but there was a lot of the community and actually speculating everything. So, Chapter 2, Season 3 is going to have to go into the C tier. I'm going to put it at the bottom of C tier. That's where I'm going to throw that. Now, Chapter 1, Season 9. Very, very good storyline. We had Bunker Jonesy with the whole thing that we had to decipher. And that alone is SS tier, man. That kept us busy the entire season. We had all the fort bites that we had to put together. We had the mega city. We had the cinematic trailer because Jonesy was aging. We didn't know what was going on with Agent Jones. We knew Singularity was something important. And most importantly, we had to wait for the mech to be built the entire season. And again, just like the Unvaulting, the payoff was absolutely magnificent. It was perfect. It was perfect. Man, the later bit of Chapter 1 was so good. Chapter 1 Season 9 storyline was better than Chapter 1 Season 8's. They're close though, man. Both of them are absolutely an SS tier. Again, I'm sure there's stuff that I'm missing, like little side stories and all that. But man, was that fun that was fun to look forward to. We had Pressure Plant, everything updating there. That was a great season. Now, Chapter 1 Season X. Chapter 1 Season X, one of the greatest Fortnite seasons of all time. The storyline was great. You had the whole back in time thing. We didn't know what happened to Agent Jones at the beginning of the trailer. Excuse me, that was just Jonesy at the time. We didn't know why we were back in time. We didn't know why the meteor was there. And we had all of the cryptic little messages that we had to piece together. The scientist tapes. We had the rift zones, the rift beacons. We had to figure out what that was all about. Everything was beautifully cryptic. And that's what was really fun about looking forward to this season, because they went back to doing that. This is tough. I'm going to throw this into the SS tier because the payoff with the season, with the end event, everything building up together, the cinematic, the music that went along with it. We had this storyline and we had to guess, like, okay, are we leaving the map? Whether it was the loading screens, whether it was the beacons, whether we had to figure out what the 7 were looking for something. Is the scientist the same person as the visitor? Why are the mechs here? Why is the meteor in the sky? It had the whole community talking the entire time. And the end was perfect. These 3 seasons were the greatest. Oh man, but I don't know, because we're gonna get into Chapter 2 Season 2. I guess I'll figure it out when I get there. Now, Invasion, very strong. We had the introduction of the Last Reality. We had the introduction of Dr. Sloan. 2 characters or 2 factions that were great. They were great additions to the Fortnite storyline. Donald Mustard's brain, man. I like, ranking these is so tough. everything about this, learning about the IO, learning about Dr. Sloan's past, learning about the last reality coming, learning about the aliens, what the aliens were doing. We had all the cubes, and the payoff was great with Operation Skyfire. If you want to take a look at the little bit of a teasers, the aliens brought down Ariana Grande to distract us, something like that. So, and then they tried to get our memories, and then we even had a little bit of storyline there. This was also a very strong storyline. And I love the twist of Dr. Sloan leaving us. Guys, Chapter 2 Season 7 is also an SS tier season. Absolutely. Do I like it more than the Unvaulting? I don't. It's going to be tough to beat these Chapter 1s. I don't know, thinking about Chapter... Oh, man. All right, let's talk Chapter 2 Season 1. I actually was really invested in this. A lot of people thought it was a very slow season, but I was very interested in Ego versus Alter and trying to figure out what that whole thing was about, trying to figure out who was on what side. I was very interested in it, and a lot of people didn't, so that was a little bit of an unpopular opinion. Let me know if you disagree or agree with me down in the comments down below, but man, I enjoyed it. There wasn't a lot going on. Plus, we also had the gold Midas hand at the end of the season, teasing something to come with the top secret stuff in the island, you know? It was great. I really enjoyed Chapter 2 Season 1. You're gonna hate me. You're gonna think I'm an idiot. I think I'm gonna throw it into the S tier, man. I think I'm gonna throw it into the S tier. Moving on, we have Chapter 1 Season 7. We have the Ice King. The iceberg finally hit. We had the Caddis monster, although that's something I didn't mention. We had the teasers along Season 9 for the Caddis monster in the eye after the Unvaulting event. No, that was in Chapter 1 Season 8, because Chapter 1 Season 9 had the monster having their footprints around. How did I forget to mention all that? Like I said, guys, I'm sure there's a lot that I'm missing with these. I'm just getting like the general idea of all these storylines. Yeah, Chapter 1 Season 9 belongs up there. Anyways, Chapter 1 Season 7 had the story of the Ice King, the snow getting covered all through the map. We had the Fire King versus the Ice King storyline. It was teasing the volcano. We had that whole speculation going on there. We had to figure out who the prisoner was. We had to figure out why Sergeant Winter came through the map. It was a good storyline. It was a little bit on the weaker side of the storyline when comparing it to the others, but it was good. It was good. Very, very solid. Where am I going to throw this one? I'm going to throw the Ice King at the top of B tier. I feel like that's a good spot for it. Chapter 1 season. Now, Chapter 2 Season 8, the Chapter 2 finale. This is a very good storyline. The end event was perfect. We had all the teasers of the Cube Queen finally coming, the last reality, the cubes rolling around. We had Blevin, we had the Golden Cube. We had to figure out what the cubes were about. We now know there were multiple cubes. We now know about the last reality. Building up to this end event was very, very fun, and it had a great payoff. So, like, the map further getting corrupted, that was always great to have too. That storyline in general, and again, I'm not talking about, like, if I was ranking the live events here, this might be the best one, but the storyline in general, S tier. I think it's an S tier, but do I like it more than Chapter 2 Season 4's? I don't know. I was more invested in Chapter 2 Season 4's storyline, I believe, but both of them were very good. Very, very good. Now, here's the biggie. Here is the biggie. We have Chapter 2 Season 2. Throughout the history of this channel, I have always said that the storyline has been best when it was in Chapter 2 Season 2. Everything about the device, everything about learning about Agent Jones, the build up to it, leaving us with the water storm, flooding the loop. We finally figured out after all this time what the IO are, what, like, Agent Jones was working on the desk. We finally figured out that we were in some sort of simulation, the loop. There was the Ghost vs. Shadow thing, and we had to figure out what Mind is all about. Guys, I'm talking about it now, and I'm solidifying it, okay? I'm solidifying it. SS tier. That is the greatest Fortnite storyline of all time. I was thinking, like, okay, as I was going through these, we had Chapter 2 Season 7, Chapter 1 Season 8, Chapter 1 Season 9, Chapter 1 Season X. I'm thinking, like, as I'm talking about them, how can you beat this storyline? Chapter 2 Season 2 did. You had even the Deadpool storyline. You had all the little teasers with the characters. They all had their rooms. This was the greatest Fortnite storyline that has ever taken place. And while I, myself, like, with the end event, that got me, like, more emotional. That got me, like, not anxious, but I'm like, oh my god, what's going to happen? You know what I mean? I was kind of, like, more, I would say I'm more invested in the end event in Chapter 1 Season X. I was more invested in it. I was more like, oh my god, what's going to happen? But this Chapter 2 Season 2 was the best storyline. I was invested. It had the payoff. So many questions were answered, and it took the storyline to a brand new level. I'd be shocked if there was a better storyline that came out than Chapter 2 Season 2. That could be SS tier and just by itself, but it's not, because all those, everything in SS tier belongs together. It's just one is better than the others. I feel like this is a proper ranking of them all, and I'd love to hear what you guys think down below afterwards. Now, let's talk about the final season that we have for Donald Mustard, the storyline of Chapter 1, Season 4, the one that began it all. I thought about including Chapter 1, Season 3, but that's just the meteor and teasing Chapter 1, Season 4. So we had the whole thing with the visitor was coming down. He finally got here, the rocket. We didn't know what that was. We knew some guy with the pod and the meteor came down. You know what I mean? So we knew something was going on, like some asteroid type thing hit the island, and we had to figure out, like, okay, these hot rocks. We were starting to figure out that there was a storyline, and that in itself is something that we should be thinking about, because without Fortnite and Epic Games saying anything, they showed us that there's a storyline going on here. Something that we had to figure out. That's great storytelling in itself. And plus, you had the visitor building that rocket the whole time with the superhero showdowns, and we didn't figure out that it was all like just a facade and it was all acting until the end of the season. So we're like, oh, okay, the visitor is the thing we're actually supposed to be paying attention to, and they told the story beautifully through the loading screens and through the map changes. We figured out that he's fighting the rocket. We're like, why is he fighting the rocket? Oh my god, it's gonna hit Tilted. Tilted's finally gonna get destroyed. And then they threw us for a loop. They threw us for a loop, and the rocket didn't hit Tilted Towers and left us with a rift. And we were like, what is this crack in the sky? And everybody was talking. Everybody was talking. It was incredible. It was great. Chapter 1, Season 4. Guys, it's going in the S tier. It's going in the S tier. The way you know it's a good story when we don't have to be told there's a story. There was no story before this, and we figured out there was a story. They told it in a brand new and unique way that's never been done before in the history of storytelling. And that's why I'm a fan of Donald Mustard. Looking back on this though, guys, I do want to move Chapter 2, Season 6 up to the S tier. I feel like that belongs with these more, although at the bottom. I feel like this is a proper ranking. Again, I enjoyed every single storyline that was on here, but some of these, like, I'm looking at them and they just don't stack up to the others. I had an absolute blast, and it was an honor to play Donald Mustard's storyline. I always say, if the guy wrote a book, I would read it. I guess you can include that with the comic books, but I'm being serious. Donald Mustard is responsible for so much of my investment and so much of my involvement in a Fortnite storyline. He's the reason why I am enjoying the game so much. Like, not just purely, but you know what I mean. Like, I enjoy playing with my friends and everything, but he created a game that's so special that it stands out to me. This story stands out to me more than any other game that I've ever played in my life. It's sad to see Donald Mustard go, and I thought it would be a good way to honor him today and rank all of his storyline creations. Donald Mustard has one of the most fantastic storytelling brains in the entire world. I look up to that man and his brain. He's an inspiration to anybody who creates games. He's an inspiration to anybody who wants to tell storyline. He came up with a storyline that was told with the island being the main character. He was a guy who came up with a storyline that we didn't even need to know. We were just experiencing a game, and he was able to tell us one of the most captivating stories in all of gaming. Look what it's become. I am a huge fan of his work. I'm a huge fan of his brain. I'm a huge fan of him. I thought this would be a good way to have him a send-off. Chapter 2, Season 2 was the most invested I've ever been in a Fortnite story. It was an honor to experience all of this, truthfully. And the one in a million chance that Donald Mustard will see this video, I can't thank you enough for bringing so much happiness into my life. Thank you so much, Donald Mustard. And thank you so much to everybody who watched this video. Let me know specifically about the storylines. Put how you feel about particular seasons aside. Which storyline were you the most invested in? Let me know in the comments down below. And thank you so much for watching, everybody. On the screen right now, you will see 2 videos from the Clen channel if you'd like to continue watching the Clen channel, or you can check out the playlist on the channel, which we will have all of the tier lists that we've been making. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you in the next video. Take care.